Dimela, today I'm going to attempt to teach you chess and history at the same time. Nna ka lebitso ke Nthatima Chesa, ke nna mokubong wa matokomane, ke kobo ko bontsha marote re bona, ha ona tele jana no selomise ka selomang ka metseng. Le amohetswe.
Ever followed a thought down the rabbit hole and let it smack dab in the middle of a chess set? Yep, that's just a regular Tuesday in my brain. So hey there, welcome to the fun house that is my brain. Watch your step, Alice. It's a wonderland in here. Since I'm such a gracious host, let me guide you through the thought that kicked off this wild ride. It all started with, why is the king the most important chess piece when it only moves one square at a time? This question threw me for a loop, so I hit the internet to investigate. Now, I could spill the beans right now, but where's the fun in that? I'll give you this though. Once I grasped the king's role, another rabbit hole appeared. You see, I have been having visions and dreams about creating my own chess set since 2017. These dreams had faded into the background until my curiosity about chess power dynamics brought them roaring back. I decided to stop resisting and dive headfirst into making a chess set. But hold on, Alice. This rabbit hole goes even deeper. We need one more crucial ingredient to craft a truly world-class chess set, and that is inspiration. Then it hit me. I know all about Shaka Zulu and Morena Moshweshwe, but what about the other kings? And more importantly, what about the queens who ruled the lands of Southern Africa? That's when I decided to base the chess set on the Mfecane Wars. Now, you're probably thinking, what in Mandela's Rainbow Nation are the Mfecane Wars? Well, Alice, no need to fret. That's exactly why you're here today. The Mfecane Wars, also known as the Mfecane Wars were a series of devastating conflicts and forced migrations that occurred in southern Africa during the early 19th century, approximately between 1815 and 1840. These wars were primarily driven by the expansionist policies of the Zulu kingdom under King Shaka, which led to widespread chaos and displacement of numerous tribes. Historically significant, the Mfecane reshaped the demographic, political, and social landscape of Southern Africa. It resulted in the consolidation of powerful states like the Zulu, Swazi, and the Sotho-Tswana nations, while causing the fragmentation and migration of many smaller communities. The turmoil facilitated European colonization by weakening indigenous societies, ultimately influencing the geopolitical boundaries and ethnic compositions of present-day South Africa and its neighboring countries. Sorry, hi, Alice. How many rabbit holes have you tumbled through now? No time to catch your breath. Grab my hand as we plunge into the final thought process. Can I teach you chess and history in 15 minutes? Well, my dear guest, I'll let you be the judge of that. Welcome to the Royal Heritage Chess Set. It's too early to spill the beans on why he's the top dog, but let me share my initial frustration with this piece. Seriously, the game ends when the king is captured, yet he moves only one square in any direction, whether horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. Talk about an injustice to the queen. Yarr. But I digress. Let's talk about the inspiration behind the king's design. This piece draws inspiration from Shaka Zulu and Morena Moshweshwe. What caught my eye in their portraits were their headgear and necklaces. Now let me hit you with a bit of history here, Alice. After a king is chosen, the king and his warriors embark on a ritualistic hunt in the forest. The catch? The king must land the killing blow on the chosen animal based on their family totem. Why is this information important, you ask? Let's circle back to the headgear and the necklace. The king's official armor is crafted from the animal he bravely took down. Take our selected kings, for example. They sport leopard-themed gear. Lions and leopards are top hunters in their habitats, so this gear symbolizes that the king is the prime hunter.
Alice, I hope you're still paying attention for your own sake.
Alright, Alice, let's talk about the Queen, the undisputed powerhouse on the board. She can move any number of squares in any direction, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. The only thing she cannot do is jump like the knight. Yet when she's captured, the game doesn't end. Serious side eye. This got me thinking, Alice. The Queen piece mirrors an intriguing part of history, the often overlooked role of great women. It struck me how little we hear about remarkable African women in history, their legendary legacies buried by those who got to tell the tale. Much like the Queen on the chessboard, no matter her power, it's not enough to end the game. Growing up as a Mosotho, I heard tales of Umantadisi Wabatlokwa from my parents. Imagine hearing about a woman who led a 44,000-man army. There were even wild rumors that she had a single eye on her forehead and fed her followers with her own breast milk. Now, Alice, I don't care what you say, Brian. She must have been one fearsome baddie to face. What a legend. Another fascinating figure is Queen Mujaji, the Rain Queen. She's a legendary figure in Southern African folklore, known for her mystical ability to control the weather, especially rainfall. As the hereditary ruler of the Balubedi people in Limpopo province, her reign is shrouded in myth and mystique, symbolizing the intersection of spirituality, nature, and leadership in African culture. Let's not forget Queen Nandi, Shaka Zulu's mother. In designing the Queen piece, I aim to capture the essence of these queens. She wears the isiqholo, a traditional South African headgear signifying marriage, to honor her regal status. To add some fafa to her look, I included chainmail to emphasize her strength and position as the most powerful piece on the board, symbolizing her majestic role as the kingdom's defender, akin to a knight in chess. A moment of silence for my sanity, Alice. I have a love-hate relationship with this piece. The design gave me sleepless nights. Before I start with this one, let me get the formalities out of the way. Dumelang bonkgono le bontatemoholo ba lesedi le bakganya. In the Western culture, the bishop played a crucial role in both the religious and political spheres. Before we were colonized, this was the role of a sangoma. So for the royal heritage chess set respectfully, the bishop will henceforth be referred to as the sangoma. I read an article in passing once. The heading so eloquently phrased, Africa's struggle for its art. And what I read in a way shocked me. Did you know that there are approximately 70,000 African objects at the Musée de Queue Branly in France, 69,000 at the British Museum, 37,000 at the Welt Museum in Austria, and 75,000 at the Future Humboldt Forum in Germany, as well as 180,000 at the Musée Royal de Afrique Centrale in Belgium. Mona Lisa wena ke re tsa mo utswa Mona Lisa lefatshe le ka fela ka o sana ke se. Anyway, this article got me fascinated. Most of these stolen objects are African masks. I had to find out what it is about African masks that got so many of them stolen. So I asked around, and here is what I could gather. African masks were utilized to fend off bad omens and spirits, and they were also thought to have mystical powers. Something about this made me want to base the face of the Sangoma on that information. The mask highlights what has been stolen from the colonized African child, and that is their spiritual identity. Furthermore, this is the only piece that looks a tad bit scary. Here I was trying to highlight how we as Africans have also demonized our own spirituality. Furthermore, it was to highlight my ignorance around my own spirituality. The placement of the ankh and the cross is symbolic. The ankh is the oldest symbol of African spirituality. Alice, Do you know what the ang symbolizes? The loop or the handle of the ang is often interpreted as representing the womb of the feminine aspect of creation. It symbolizes fertility, the source of life, and nurturing aspect of the divine. The vertical line of the ang can be seen as representing the phallus, the man's reproductive organ. Sorry, I had to use fancy English to fool my kiddies in here. Symbolizing the masculine aspect of creation and fertility. It signifies the active generative power. The intersection of the loop and the vertical line forming the cross symbolizes the offspring of the product of the union between male and female. It represents life and it emerges from the combination of the two forces. In other words, life cannot happen without the other. As stated before, the placement of the ang is symbolic as I placed it on the third eye and the crosses on the ears, and it's to say this: we know who we are, which is the ang, but we are constantly told who we are, which is the cross. In chess, the bishop moves any number of squares diagonally in a straight line. It can move both forwards and backwards along the diagonal lines on which it sits. Unlike the rook or the queen, the bishop is restricted to squares of a single color throughout the game. This means that each player has one bishop that moves exclusively on light squares and another bishop that moves exclusively on dark squares. Isn't it wonderful how these two pieces represent the yin and the yang? The last point I would like to highlight that is important: the placement of the king and the queen in between the sangomas felt symbolic as well, and here is why. Back in the day, kings and queens were initiated by sangomas into their positions. The spirits were consulted before a king or queen could be elected into their position. They had to prove their worthiness to the spirits before serving the people. Time for a little history. I came across 3 historical figures who were renowned sangomas of that era. Let's take a quick detour to meet them. First, we have Morena Mohlomi, the man who initiated Morena Moshweshwe into his kinghood. Then there's Nkgono Mantsopa, a prophetess who made eerily accurate predictions about the Firfoot battle. And finally, we have Unongawuse, a Xhosa Sangoma who experienced visions instructing the Xhosa people to destroy their crops and cattle, believing this would lead to the expulsion of the British settlers and the restoration of their ancestors. However, some believe Unongawuse may have been coerced or manipulated by British colonial authorities to orchestrate the cattle-killing movement as a means of destabilizing the Xhosa society. Recent information suggests that the Unongawuse story may have been fabricated. More research is needed to uncover the truth. Alice, I think it makes sense why this piece took the longest to put together, right? Things I do for art and history. The night with its funky L shape, 2 shapes in one direction, either horizontally or vertically, and then one square perpendicular to that direction, or vice versa. Lets it leap over other pieces like a caffeine-fueled grasshopper. This unique movement makes the knight a wildcat on the board, unpredictable and tricky to block. Now, this got me thinking about the warriors who fought in these legendary battles. Who were they? What were their names? What strategies did they use? And do we still use these strategies in modern day South Africa, or have they become dusty old tales buried in history books? To my surprise, the only detailed info I found was about Shaka Zulu's Amaputo and the famous O formation. Alice, I need to dig up stories about warriors beyond Shaka Zulu's Amaputo. No shade to Mr. Zibo. Shaka introduced the bullhorn formation, which involved encircling an overwhelming enemy from both sides while maintaining a strong central force. This strategy emphasized speed, maneuverability, and coordinated attacks, allowing the Zulu army to score major wins against larger, more technologically advanced opponents. For inspiration, I turned to the iconic shield used by Amabuto, known as Isihle. This bad boy was typically made of cowhide, designed to be both lightweight and durable. Its distinctive shape, with a concave center and rounded edges, provided effective protection against enemy attacks while allowing for swift movement on the battlefield. Alice, doesn't that just make you want to grab a shield and shout? Boom, 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 boom. Okay. The rook, also known as the castle, is the powerhouse of the chessboard, moving horizontally or vertically across any number of squares. It's like the chessboard's high-speed train, zooming along its current rank of 5. Alice, ever wondered why the doors to a traditional African heart were structured to be so low? While it's all about respect, making you bow before entering someone's home, there's a sneaky tactical reason too. Picture this. In the event of an attack, the low entrance forced attackers to crawl inside, leaving their heads exposed and ripe for a counterattack. What comes next, Alice? That's right. With an attacker on their knees and the head poking in, it was the perfect position for a swift and decisive chop. Yep, the humble hut doubled as a fortress, with its architecture designed for defense. Now let's take a leap down another rabbit hole. What would our infrastructure have looked like had we not been colonized? Would we have cylindrical university buildings or offices? For this piece, I reimagined what a hut would look like if it were a castle. Picture this. Stairs spiraling up the middle, perhaps where the defense team would strategize. Outside, I added a chair to symbolize the communal storytelling around the bonfire. And since I couldn't add a sky to the piece, I put stars on the ground to remind us of the nights spent under the starry African sky, sharing tales of old. Alice, do you see the magic here? Our past is a treasure trove of ingenious design and strategic brilliance. Coming in at last place, we have the pawn. Pawns move forward one square at a time along their current file on the chessboard. On their first move, pawns get a bit of a head start and can advance 2 squares. But no moonwalking here, Alice. Pawns can move backward. For the pawn piece, I chose the drum, a deeply symbolic instrument in the African diaspora. Despite being the weakest piece in chess, the drum holds immense significance, stirring something profound within the soul when its beat resound. It's as if it calls something primal within us. Now imagine the pawn as our innate selves, like a drum waiting for its rhythm. As the game progresses and the pawn advances, reaching the other side of the board, it goes through a magical transformation called the pawn promotion. Here, it can morph into any other piece except for the king. Usually, players upgrade the pawn to a queen because, let's face it, the queen rules. Alice, are you aware of your own rhythm? Are you the sacrificial pawn, or are you the pawn capable of becoming a queen? Do you know what you're capable of? In the great game of life, we are like drums, empty with no rhythm, and often the first to be sacrificed. But when we march to our own rhythm, when we move to our own beat, embracing ourselves, yes, the good, the bad, and the quirky, that's when we become truly powerful and formidable. Just as the drum finds its rhythm, we find our purpose and strength when we follow our unique path. So, Alice, have you made your conclusion on why the king is the strongest? Even though he moves only 1 square. The king is the strategist. The game of chess is all about strategy, and the person in charge of executing this strategy is the king. Without the right strategy, a kingdom is doomed. Alice, our journey through Wonderland is almost coming to an end, but before you go, I want you to remember this. In the game of life, you are both the king and the queen, the strategist and the most powerful piece. Embrace your role, understand your power, and move with intention. When you return to the real world, take this inspiration with you. Reflect on the untold stories of our kings and queens and the rich history that shapes us. Let it guide your own strategy and influence your moves on the chessboard of life. Alice, before you scamper off, let me introduce you to the royal trio of the chess set offerings. First up, we have the creme de la creme, the as good as nice of the offering, the Craft Your Legacy chess set. This is for those who want to leave a mark, an heirloom of sorts, highly customizable from design to material. This set is about curating and preserving your clan legacy in the most luxurious ways possible. Think gold, ebony, your family crest, whatever tickles your fancy. This is one for the kings and the queens who know their worth and want it to be reflected in the chessboard. Our Craft Your Legacy set starts from 50,000. Next, we have the classic elegance set. This beauty is perfect for those who appreciate the finer things in life, whether you're playing a game or just admiring it. This set is a conversation starter. It's elegant, refined, and screams sophistication. Place it on your living room and watch as your guests' jaws drop. Our classic elegance sets start from 3,500 Rand. And last but definitely not least, the educational empowerment set. This one is close to my heart. Our dream is to start a chess league where scholars can compete, learn about strategy, and reconnect with the rich history. Imagine township schools battling it out on the chessboard, encouraging healthy competition and learning at the same time. It's about giving every child the chance to be a king or queen in their own terms. And here's where you come in, Alice. We need your help to make this dream a reality. For just 500 Rand, you can donate a set to a township school. Your contribution will help us equip young minds with just not a game, but a tool for critical thinking and cultural connection. But wait, there's more. We're working on a little side project, bringing the Royal Heritage chess set into the virtual reality space. Picture this. Immersive games where you not only play chess but step into the historical settings of the Mfecane Wars. Cool, right? For this ambitious project, we need funding. If you believe in our mission to educate, inspire, and preserve history, consider supporting us. Alice, it's time to step out of Wonderland. Until next time, Alice, stay curious, stay inspired, and remember, life is a big game of chess. One you survive when you know which piece you are. See you in the real world.